This is Power Hour with Gabriella Power.
Hello and welcome to Power Hour. I'm Gabriella Power. Thank you for joining us. I want to start with chilling new details that have come to light about Charlie Kirk's assassination, coming from the head of Charlie's security team. This man is Brian Harpole. He sat down with podcaster Sean Ryan for almost 3 hours, opening up about everything that unfolded that day. He also spoke about the feeling that he had in the lead up to September 10. 2 days before the speaking event at Utah Valley University, the day that Charlie was taken from us in the most evil way possible, Brian Harpole was worried. Brian Harpole is a former Navy SEAL, he's a former police officer, and he became aware that some of the rooftops were easily accessible. So what did he do? He contacted the UVU Police Chief Jeff Long, asking him directly if one of his security guards could be stationed at the doors to block it. Here he is reading the word-for-word text message exchange between them.
Monday before, this correspondence went to Chief Long. Hello, Chief Long. We received this message today from the student group. There is a student roof access pretty close to where CK will be set up at the Utah Valley. The Sorensen Center has a couple of staircases that go up to walkways on the roofs. He comes back, and for edification, the Sorensen Center was the building in front of the Lucy Center. And so he comes back and he says, you want access to the roof? And came back and said, I was told students have access above us. If this is true, it would be nice to either have it controlled access or allow one of my guys to be there as well if possible. He comes back and his last correspondence was, I got you covered. What else am I to do?
I got you covered. I mean, it is so hard to hear that. According to Brian Harpole, no one from UVU ever ended up being assigned to check the roofs or be stationed at the doors, and no one from his team was allowed access. I mean, it is unbelievable. And as we know, just minutes into the speaking event on September 10, a single shot was fired from a rooftop. Here is Brian speaking about that exact moment.
I remember I heard the gunfire, and then I don't know if you've heard this, but I heard that bullet slap him. And so you hear two sounds actually. And so you hear the actual shot, and then you hear the bullet hit him in the neck, like you hear it.
He went on to describe how the security team jumped around Charlie, giving him cover within seconds, not knowing if there were more shots about to be fired.
And so I initially dove down on top of him and just was on him almost face to face. And then when I was doing that, I went down, I could see the wound. And so I immediately shoved my hand into the wound to stop the bleeding, just trying to find the pressure. And it was coming out still. And I'm on top of him, like close. And it was still coming out enough that it squirted through my fingers and I could taste it on my lips.
He ordered his team to prep the car, but when he looked at Charlie, he knew he wasn't going to make it.
But it's fast to get an initial assessment, plug a hole, pick them up, move them.
Yeah, and so it's just like, dang. And it's some horrible realities of it too, that like I told the guys this, and I haven't. When I jumped down on him, he had doll's eyes. And so I was like, man, these are wounds incompatible with life.
You know.
Yeah.
You want to take a break?
Yeah.
It is so heartbreaking. We know that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been charged with aggravated murder. UVU says it's in the process of an independent review into what happened. But 10 weeks on, there are still many, many unanswered questions about the failures of that day, the day we lost an American hero. If you're a homeowner in America, you need to listen to this. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud on the rise called title theft, and your equity is the target. This is how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a single document, use a fake notary stamp and file it with the county, and just like that, on record, they own your home. Using your ownership, they can take out loans against your equity or even sell your property, and you won't know about it until foreclosure or collection notices show up in the mail. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock so you can protect your equity and find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code POWER at hometitlelock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud occurs, their US-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. That's hometitlelock.com, promo code POWER, or use the link below. It's time for Media Meltdown, starting with one of the most privileged women on the planet, former First Lady Michelle Obama, who's now suggesting that black women can't swim because white people generally have straight hair.
Now, let me explain something to white people. Our hair comes out of our head naturally in a curly pattern. So when we're straightening it to follow your beauty standards, we are trapped by the straightness. That's why so many of us can't swim and we run away from the water. People won't go to the gym because we're trying to keep our hair straight for y'all. It is exhausting and it's so expensive and it takes up so much time. Braids are for y'all so we can work harder and focus on the work. So why do we need an act, an act of law to tell white folks to get out of our hair?
She's still going.
Don't tell me how to wear my hair. Don't wonder about it. Don't touch it.
We don't worry. We do not wonder about
Just don't.
Yeah, we should all feel very bad for Michelle Obama. She's also opened up about her life, making sure that everyone knows having a hair and makeup team, that's not a luxury.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really have that choice as First Lady.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Every day, every time I was up, as we called it, I was up for the public.
Yes.
And the days were long. So as you mentioned, to save time.
Yes.
I know having a glam team, a trifecta, it feels like a luxury, but it was a time necessity.
Yes.
There's absolutely no way that I would be able to do my hair and makeup and have clothes ready that fit, because rare is the woman that can live off the rack.
Yes.
Finally, for some inspiration to all the women out there, don't bother about thinking for running for president one day because America rejected Kamala Harris.
Well, as we saw in this past election, sadly, we ain't ready. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running because you all are lying. You're not ready for a woman. You are not.
She is?
So don't waste my time. We got a lot of growing up to do. And there's still, sadly, a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman, and we saw it. What was the question? I just said,
Joining us now is CJ Pearson, RNC Youth Advisory Council co-chair. CJ, great to see you again. Michelle Obama. As a woman, I of course want to see a female president, but did I want Kamala Harris to be elected president of America? No, I did not. I think we can do a lot better. Can I get your reaction to what she had to say?
No, I think you're exactly right. I think Michelle is absolutely wrong, as per usual. The American people didn't have a problem with a woman being president. We had a problem with that woman being president. And that's exactly why the American people roundedly rejected her, not only delivering her defeat on the Electoral College, but also the popular vote as well, putting her in a unique category. Which, of course, she is, taken to the book trail herself to go out and make every excuse as to why she lost and why she failed to connect with the American people in any real way. But the real reason came down to the fact that she was inauthentic. She was not someone who we felt as if could maintain America's status on the world stage in the same way with the same vigor that President Trump has. And so, no, the American people did not reject Kamala Harris because she was a woman. We rejected her because she was the wrong woman for the job.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's talk about the big story of today, the Epstein Files. The House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly to compel the release of the files. Just one person voted against it. That person is Clay Higgins. I mean, what a freak. The world, of course, deserves to know the truth. The alleged victims deserve justice. But I want to get your thoughts on all that in just a moment. Also, CJ, the mainstream media seems to often miss the fact that Epstein was a Democrat, and documents obtained by the Washington Post show that Democrat Stacey Plaskett, she was getting text messages from Epstein about how to hurt Trump during a 2019 congressional hearing. Look at this.
You, as my friend Mr. Meadows pointed out, misled this committee even today in a written submission that contradicted your testimony. You have suggested you are going to review that. Are you going to review it in our next break to correct the record, yes or no?
Yes.
Question, you helped out the president's campaign or were involved in the campaign as a representative, as a spokesman, even in your words today. It was your idea for the campaign dating back to 2011. Is that accurate, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? Are they with the Trump organization?
They are.
Are there other people that we should be meeting with?
So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer.
You got to quickly give us as many names as you can so we can get to them.
Yes, ma'am.
As Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot that went on.
So you can see at the bottom of the screen there, those text messages coming from Epstein, helping her out, even at the end saying good work. CJ, can I get your reaction to this?
Well, they oftentimes would accuse President Trump of Russia collusion. It seems as if they've been colluding with pedophiles. So maybe they should answer for that. It's an odd thing that, they didn't care about the Epstein Files when Joe Biden was president, calling his release. There was no discharge petition, any of those things. But now all of a sudden, when they feel as if they can weaponize this against President Trump, and all of a sudden it's something that they're so passionate about. And here's the deal. I fully believe that the files should be released. President Trump has, called for them to be as well. Because here's the thing. This is a Democrat scandal, not a Republican one. Bill Clinton has a lot to answer for when it comes to this. Reid Hoffman has a lot to answer for when it comes to this. And those people are not carb-carrying Republicans, as you know. And so here's the deal. At the end of the day, this isn't about politics to me. This is about left or right, Republican or Democrat. This is about victims who deserve justice. I will say is that we've heard from many of these victims over the course of the past several months, and not a single one of them has accused President Trump of any wrongdoing whatsoever. And so I think at the end of the day, if we're going to believe the people that are actually in that room and all of those things, well, they're not telling us that President Trump has done a single thing to harm them, or they ever witnessed him doing a single thing that would be harmful. And so it's just all a manufactured scandal and hoax by the Democrats in an attempt to, again, distract this president from the very important work that the American people elected him to do.
No, you're exactly right. That is just such an important point. I mean, when many of the alleged victims spoke out about this, they held a press conference in September. It was meant to be this kind of powerful moment. They were asked directly, did you ever see or hear anything, which meant that Donald Trump, that there was any kind of wrongdoing about him? And the answer is no. I mean, we've got to listen to the victims. But with these Epstein files finally coming out, I mean, it has been a bit of a nightmare how long this has been drawn out for. Of course, Joe Biden could have released them as well years ago, didn't do that. What are you expecting? Are we going to be disappointed? Are we going to get some of the evidence I think we're maybe hoping for?
Well, I think it remains to be seen, what will be coming here. I know that there's an active investigation, of course, that President Trump ordered the DOJ to conduct for a lot of these people that were mentioned in these recently uncovered emails, whether it's, folks like Larry Summers, who is a Harvard, professor, former president of the university, also, too, J.P. Morgan and other financial institutions that had a close relationship with Epstein as well. So I think there's definitely an eagerness and a desire from this president to get to the bottom of this, to get real justice. This isn't about politics for him. As it is for the Democrats. And so I'm hopeful that we will get the transparency that we deserve, and these victims will get the justice that they are seeking as well, because they also deserve that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on Clay Higgins. I mean, voting against it, being the only person to vote against the release of these files. He wrote on X that releasing, that the reason he voted against it was because he claims that releasing the files will result in innocent people being hurt, not by my vote. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to see pedophiles being protected. CJ, finally, can I get your thoughts on the war that is erupting between Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene? I have noticed it seems to be pretty bizarre that she seems to be cozying up to the leftist media, who are, of course, embracing her, partly because she's been bashing Trump right now.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. These are obviously two very spirited individuals on both sides of this fight right now. But what I'll tell you is that I think it's very important for us as, folks in the MAGA movement, in the America First movement, to come together, to be united, because the Democrats are absolutely united against us. And so I think, these personality wars are never productive in the long run. But what I will say is, I think you point out something that's really critical here. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't go on Fox News to make her case against President Trump. She didn't go on conservative media to make her case against Donald Trump. She went on CNN. And so I got to say, don't give our enemies fodder like that. Don't give them, the upper hand in this sense, because we're in a spiritual warfare in this country right now. These people want to see us, harmed. And they've made that very, very much clear. We've seen it all across the country. Just last week, Turning Point USA sought to have a rally at the University of California, Berkeley, which was shut down by fire bombs and Antifa domestic terrorists outside of it. And so I think, again, like all this, just division and infighting, it needs to stop. I always feel a little bit weird when I have to, as the 23-year-old, say everyone needs to grow up, but I think they do. We need to just kind of focus on the end game here, which is saving the country, putting America first, and making America great again.
Yeah, great advice. Look, on to some big news. Rap star Nicki Minaj is using her platform to shed light on the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. And as we know, thousands of Christians are being slaughtered in Nigeria. Here's Nicki Minaj addressing the United Nations and praising Donald Trump.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief.
CJ, credit to Nicki Minaj for drawing global attention to this.
No, you're exactly right. Major credit to her. And I think everyone here in America was a barb today, because we stand united with her when it comes to actually tackling this thing that should not be happening in any corner of the world. It was something that I oftentimes would talk about and be kind of puzzled about, is that we can talk about every other group of folks across the world, but when it comes to Christians being slaughtered and, acts of violence being committed against them, there was not much attention being given to that by many prominent folks in the media. And so I'm incredible to see President Trump, of course, looking to address this, Ambassador Mike Walls, and now Nicki Minaj, a global icon and superstar. And so I think all these voices are coming together for the good, because at the end of the day, there is no reason, again, that any Christian anywhere around the world should be slaughtered simply because of the faith in the God that they love and that they profess to be their Lord and Savior.
President Trump dialed up his affordability message for an audience of McDonald's owners, operators and suppliers yesterday, and this is part of his push to take on America's economic worries at the moment. And as we know, we've said many times before, there is no one like Donald Trump. Here he is opening up about his favourite McDonald's meal.
Doing honest, beautiful, hard work and happy families sitting down to a really great meal. Because no matter who you are, everyone loves something at McDonald's. There's always something to have. I like the fish. I like it. You could do a little bit more tartar sauce, please. Seriously. I hate when I say, do you have any tartar sauce? Do you understand that? Yes, he understands that.
I mean, he's absolutely brilliant. We call McDonald's Macca's over here in Australia, and it was only a year ago that Donald Trump put the Macca's uniform on and he was serving up French fries. Now here he is demanding more sauce for his fish at McDonald's. What do you make of the president there?
Well, as a former McDonald's employee, I think there's anyone more qualified to make that demand. He knows the menu, he knows the recipe well, and I think that, there we go, showing just how real the American dream is. You can go from being McDonald's fry cook to being the president of the United States in just a couple of months. Only in America is something like that possible. But what I'll tell you about, that clip, I would disagree with the president, actually. The filet of fish, absolutely terrible. It's chicken McNuggets over here every single day, and that's it.
Yeah, cheeseburger meal for me. I have not had fish from McDonald's and I'm not really planning on it. Look, finally, I've got to talk to you about the Democrats. They are planning to try and take on, I suppose, the success of the MAGA movement when it comes to capturing young people, particularly young men. You're, of course, a huge part of that, CJ. So I'm keen to get your thoughts. I mean, the Democrats are really trying to win over young voters. They've been trying to get a Joe Rogan on the left for some time. And here are these reports today that they're desperately trying to break into the manosphere. Why have they failed? And do you have any advice for them?
Well, because they hate men, and the men that they claim are men don't act like men in any way whatsoever. You have, the former vice presidential nominee for their party who was ridiculed and called Tampon Tim. I don't really know what that's going to do to excite young men like me. But what I'll tell you, you brought up Joe Rogan. They had Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was a leftist. Joe Rogan supported Bernie Sanders. They became so crazy that they even left him. He had to say, I want nothing to do with this. And so I think their struggles are far from over. And I think when you look at the vibe shift that's happened in this country culturally, you have everything from celebrities like Nicki Minaj now who are coming over to our side to prominent athletes and rappers. Just this past month, actually, had a party with Rick Ross, who wasn't always the biggest fan of the president. But now he says, I respect the president. I respect the leadership that he has and, the business acumen that he possesses. And so I think people realize it's cool to be a Republican now. It's cool to be conservative again, maybe for the first time ever. But we're glad to see that. And I don't think that the left is going to win back those people that they've left before because they've lost the plot. They're too far gone.
Just finally, before I let you go, Donald Trump's at the White House today welcoming Saudi Arabia's crown priest, and there was this classic exchange between Donald Trump and CNN's Caitlin Collins.
Prices go up.
Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please.
I mean, he knows how to shut her down.
You have to. And I think Caitlin, if she wasn't a third-rate reporter, she would know her place and know to respect the office of the president. And the great thing about Donald Trump, though, is that if you don't respect him, he's going to remind you as to why you should and probably embarrass you a little bit in the process. So I have a feeling, I would say to any other person, they would learn that lesson quite quickly. Caitlin needs to be a little bit on the slower side. So it remains to be seen whether or not she gets the lesson. But I think every other reporter in that room got the hint, and they'll be moving accordingly from here on out.
CJ Pearson, RNC Youth Advisory Council co-chair, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you.
Joining us now is former Labor Senator and Sky News contributor Stephen Conroy. Stephen, it is great to see you.
Good afternoon. Great to see you again, Gab.
Let's start with the United States and where the Democrats are at. Of course, they've been licking their wounds really all year. In my opinion, they've been failing to get their act together. According to Politico, California Governor Gavin Newsom is the 2028 frontrunner. Politico says that for years, Democrats and pundits have rolled their eyes at Gavin Newsom, but he's positioned better than anyone else for the future of politics. Stephen, I want to get your opinion on this. I mean, looking at the talent or lack of talent within the Democrat Party, what's your assessment? Is Newsom the front runner?
Look, I think, Gavin's doing a great job of irritating and undermining Trump's agenda. But I think that he's got to win states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Georgia, those key battleground states. And I just don't see him appealing to those states. He's, clearly pushed back strongly. He's mocking Trump. These are great things for showing backbone and fight. But I just don't believe that he is a candidate that can win the key 6 or 7 swing states in the East. So I know he's very popular with the media. but I'm just not sure he'll sell in the key states.
It's interesting you say he's popular in the media, and from what I can see, he's been non-stop going on podcasts, and he's been, unveiling different accents every time he's been going on podcasts, and he's trying to win over as many people as he can, clearly. But Stephen A. Smith has slammed Gavin Newsom for not going on his show. He's also called out other Democrats for failing to front her.
Oh, look, I mean, there is a certain sense of entitlement to these podcasters nowadays that have a big reach. They just think they can demand anyone comes on. It is a democracy. People are welcome to go on and off shows if they don't want to. And he's had plenty of Democrats on his show. So I'm not sure he should be being quite so demanding and precious.
Okay. Well, let's just take a listen. We've got the soundbite here.
Jasmine Crockett has been on this air, or invited on this show for 4 months. AOC has been invited on this show for 4 months. Gavin Newsom has been invited on this show for longer than that. Props to Hakeem Jeffries. He's a friend of the show, always welcome on here. I like that man. I respect him. Chuck Schumer's been invited on this show, hasn't shown up. Where they at? Every single Republican I have asked to show up on this show has either said yes or that they're coming. Not the Dems. Why?
Yeah, Stephen, he's really calling them out there, and he listed some names, AOC being one of them. That's certainly another name that's being mentioned when you're looking at 2028, a potential presidential run. AOC, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom. What are your thoughts on AOC? Is she underestimated?
Look, I think she's done a great job in helping revitalise the Democrats in New York. And you can see that by the mayoral victory that the Democrats have just had, and she strongly backed the new mayor. But again, I don't think she can appeal to those 6 swing states. I mean, the Democrats have to be ruthlessly smart here. AOC works in New York, but does not work in Pennsylvania, Georgia. I mean, I think if you look at the other successful Democrat candidates, and all of those successes in the last few weeks, they've all been centrists, all been moderates, not people who want to hear the word democratic socialist, will never utter those words and reject the philosophical position. So the Democrats can look at 6 or 7 other very successful candidates and see the path to victory through moderate centrist Democrats, not people who are happy to describe them as democratic socialists.
Let's talk about Donald Trump. An issue for him at the moment is no doubt the economy. He's pledged that prices will come down in a speech to owners, operators and suppliers of McDonald's. Now, of course, concerns over his handling of the economy and cost of living have been growing. Donald Trump claims that prices are coming down. But Stephen, talk to us about how critical this is for Trump. He's, of course, been extraordinary on the world stage, but this is a key issue.
Americans aren't enjoying him being extraordinary on the world stage. They're interested in what is on their kitchen table to eat. And Donald Trump is now starting to move into the fantasy land, what he criticised Biden for, by making claims that just aren't the lived experience. I mean, let's take McDonald's. Trump is absolutely being hammered by American beef producers because he's allowing Argentinian beef in and another sop to his mate in Argentina so that he can help prop up beef farmers in Argentina at the expense of American beef farmers. So what he's doing there is not driving the price of American beef down, he's decimating the industry. So it is very dangerous for any politician to say they're going to reduce prices. The lived experience of Americans right now is that prices are not coming down and are not going to come down. Even his claimed Walmart Christmas hamper, he deliberately misrepresents, saying, oh, it's down 13% or whatever the percent was from last year. The problem is Walmart have reduced the contents by nearly half. So he's not comparing the same basket. Now, last year's basket had 28 products in. This year's basket has 15 products in, and he's pretending that that's a reduction in prices. And that's one of the reasons he's getting hammered in the polls. Too much time trying to get the Nobel Peace Prize and saving the world from all these wars that he hasn't. And not.
Well, I'll have to pick you up on that one. I mean, we've got to give him credit for doing that. I mean, achieving peace in the Middle East, ending so many conflicts around the world. It's a good thing for the globe that he has been putting his focus on that.
Well, if it was real, I mean, I didn't know there were 7 wars going on in the world. I'm not quite sure solving in Azerbaijan.
What about Middle East? Is that real? Is the ceasefire real?
We all want it to be real. Hamas are not disarmed. We want Trump to be successful in the Middle East. I completely agree with you. Whether it's going to actually happen, nobody's agreed to put a peacekeeping force in there. Not the UAE, not the moderate Arab states. There is no commitment yet to police the ceasefire, which is critically important. Hamas have still not and will not disarm.
Well, that's what happens when you deal with terrorists.
Yeah,
I mean, look at what he's been able to achieve compared to Kamala Harris. No, I do take your point, and you're right that Trump, I suppose, he's kind of losing the American people here when it comes to the economy.
Totally. He needs to get focused on prices. And his other problem is all his tariffs. Tariffs put prices up. He likes to pretend that tariffs are paid for by the countries who the goods are coming from. This is just a lie, a barefaced lie. As the Supreme Court
there's a bit of art of the deal in that. I think there's a bit of art of the deal in that. He's getting rid of some tariffs.
When you put up, well, he's desperate now because he's now come to understand or stopped pretending that tariffs aren't a tax being paid by the American people. So, yeah, he's starting to take some tariffs out, but only because people are starting to work out that tariffs are taxes and they put the price of goods up. So he's getting caught out in his own lies here, and it's starting to bite him.
Well, look, what are your thoughts on Trump welcoming Saudi's Crown Prince to the White House? There was a ceremony today involving a military flyover, and Saudi's Crown Prince announced that Saudi will be investing $1 trillion into the US. Here's Donald Trump.
You know, when you invest $1 trillion, that's national security for us, too, because it creates jobs, it creates a lot of things. And I would say, Scott, right, when you hear one country's putting $1 trillion into the United States, that creates national security. And, you know, I think that they don't have to say that, but I think a big part of that is also the fact that tariffs are in play. But even beyond tariffs, that's a real ally that will do that. Creates a lot of power for the United States.
Stephen, $1 trillion. I mean, that's an extraordinary investment.
Well, look, I hope that is true. I hope that $1 trillion, there's no time frame on it, but I hope that, you know, for the sake of the American public and jobs in America, that is true. I'm just not quite prepared to believe every word that comes from Donald Trump's lips. I mean, look what the UK did. They packaged together a series of announcements that they were already going to make, bundled it up, and Keir Starmer goes, here's billions of dollars investment in the US. These are decisions that were already going to be made. They had nothing to do with Donald Trump. They just put them in a nice shiny box with a bow on top and pretended they were actually adding extra investment. So I hope that for the sake of the American public that is true, but there's a lot of games and numbers being tossed around that don't always actually turn up in the end.
Well, he's a deal maker. I think he's the ultimate deal maker. There's no one like him on the world stage. Finally, this is to do with Australia. Australia's e-safety commissioner has been called to appear before the US Congress to give evidence into how Australian laws threaten the free speech of Americans. So Sky News has exclusively obtained this letter signed by US House of Representatives Committee on the Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, in which he accuses the e-safety commissioner Julie Inman-Grant of being a zealot for global takedowns. The letter claims that the Online Safety Act directly threatens American speech. Stephen, that there are big concerns when it comes to censorship and the Online Safety Act here, not just here in Australia, but over in America too.
Look, it's almost hard to know where to start on this drivel. The proposal by the Albanese government, championed by the Safety Commissioner, championed by Anthony Albanese and Annika Wells, and good on them for this. We are not making them do a global takedown of any speech. What we're saying is we're exercising our sovereign rights to decide for ourselves what we want to see and what our kids want to see. And that is a sovereign right. This arrogance of Jim Jordan, where he thinks he can dictate to Australia what it is, what laws we're allowed to have, has to be resisted at all costs. The fact that he is a flunky for the big tech, which is so powerful now that they all turned up, they all paid for the new ballroom that's bigger than the White House. They all donated their money. So, the American politicians have got to be in the pockets of big tech, doing their bidding. This is an absurd demand. It has no valid jurisdiction, and Australia is not doing what Jim Jordan keeps trying to claim. Australia can determine what Australia sovereign rights allow it to, and that is this proposal championed by the E-Security Commissioner.
My view, it's a slippery slope. I think there are plenty of genuine and valid concerns when it comes to censorship and control of what we're able to see online. But Stephen Conroy, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to talk to you again.
Joining us now is Andrew Eborn, barrister, broadcaster and president of Octopus TV. Andrew, it's wonderful to see you.
It's always a joy to see you, Gabriella.
Let's start with the BBC. The BBC has been forced to apologise to Princess Catherine after it made a disrespectful blunder directed at the future Queen and, of course, leading to widespread backlash. Can you talk to us about what happened here?
Oh, my goodness. Look, unlike the Fonz, the BBC's ready to apologise for all sorts of things. They've apologised to Trump, but he still might be suing for $1 to $5 billion. We'll see what happens there. But also what they've done in the commentary that they had for Catherine, we spoke about last week during Remembrance Day. And they referred to her several times, not by her name, Princess Catherine, but by Kate Middleton. And lots of people burst a blood vessel saying it's so totally disrespectful on that sort of basis. It is interesting, though, because if you do a Google search, the most popular searches have not Princess Catherine, but Kate Middleton pops up far more regularly. And it's interesting when you look at some of the other royal women, because obviously you've got Fergie, who's always referred to as Fergie. She used to be Sarah, the Duchess of York. Obviously, that's now gone. So she's gone back to her maiden name of Sarah Ferguson. So we're going to see that. But obviously, your favourite every week, Meghan Markle. Obviously, she's not Meghan Markle at all, but she is the Duchess of Sussex. And but people are basically turning around. They have a lot of love for Princess Catherine, and calling her Princess Catherine as opposed to Kate Middleton is what the BBC apologised for this very week.
And I would argue that Princess Catherine absolutely deserves her title, the Princess of Wales. She's a hard-working royal. Meghan Markle stepped back from the royal family. She's been focusing on her Netflix shows, her jams, and her Instagram page. But we will talk about Meghan Markle in a moment. But the Princess of Wales, she has attended an early childhood investment summit in London. Now, she addressed more than 80 business leaders at the event in her first speech since she was diagnosed with cancer last year.
As business leaders, you will face the daily challenge of finding a balance between profitability and having a positive impact. But the two are not and should not be incompatible. At the Centre for Early Childhood, we believe that we must do all we can to create the conditions for love to flourish. That is how we invest in our future.
So, Andrew, her address is part of her initiative to encourage society to put the needs of children first.
Oh, absolutely. And this was, as you say, her first speech since her March 2024 cancer diagnosis. And she steps out into central London, the epitome of style and sophistication, and her words resonated with people. She's pushing businesses to recognise the needs of parents and caregivers of children. Really, really important, especially those under 5, the children. She highlights how investing in early childhood benefits both families and society as a whole. Her words are wonderful. I just repeat them. My passion and the work of the center of early childhood stems from one essential truth, that the love we feel in our earliest years fundamentally shapes who we become and how we thrive as adults. And I've spoken many times on your brilliant program about how they're doing that with their own children, how Prince William and Princess Catherine, as we permanently call her now, basically they talk about the family as the central thing, and having a strong family unit with lots of love is going to help those children flourish. So having those big leaders, that wonderful, powerful speech made a lot of sense on that sort of basis.
Now let's talk about Princess Anne. She's also described as such a hard-working royal, often described as the hardest working royal, I should say, and she's been on tour, and she's also been described as the antidote to Andrew and knows how to face a storm, Andrew.
Well, absolutely. And we've had a lot of this long terrain over us. The storm over Prince Andrew. Well, she had to suffer the storms of outrageous fortune in Singapore. But she was glorious. She says she doesn't get rained off. And she's one of the most resilient of the royals. She is, as everybody says, the hardest working royal. She was down in Singapore. She visited places like the National Orchid Garden, where lots of umbrellas were on display, scrambled to protect that hairdo, which obviously hasn't moved in decades. So it looked really, really well. But they said she's very famous for saying, look, there's no such thing as bad weather, only unsuitable clothing. And she's never going to be blown off course. She's there. She looks magnificent as always. And it was a masterclass in royal resilience. What she was there honouring 60 years of UK ties in Singapore following the independence from Malaysia. As I say, she looked at these wonderful orchids. She toured warships, she did some tours of warships, and also charming various locals and things like that as well. It was wonderful to prove how unflappable she is, and the ultimate antidote to the former prince known as Air Miles Andy.
Now, let's talk about Fergie, if we can call her that. And we know that despite all the scandals and scams, she's always managed to bounce back. And there are reports that say, here we go again. Barely a fortnight after being kicked out of the royal family, the former Duchess of York is trumpeting plans to restore her battered reputation. Andrew, what more can you tell us about this?
Well, the Duchess of Devious Deals, poor old Fergie. She's permanently reinventing herself, isn't she? And she got into all sorts of trouble. She's got this scandal-soaked saga from steamy affairs and toe-sucking shame, which we've spoken about. She got very mixed up, obviously, with Jeffrey Epstein, and more emails have been revealed about her relationship with him, saying, look, he was a wonderful friend, and how he basically lent her lots of money when she was troubled. We also had pictures of her, as they say, toe-sucking, and she got involved with a scam where a particular newspaper offered £500,000 for access to Prince Andrew. So she's doing all of this and so on and so forth. And what's happening, basically, she wants to reinvent herself now, apparently, as a global empowerment leader. Look at those wonderful buzzwords there. They're talking that she may relocate to Portugal, where she's going to write books on confidence and resilience. Well, she's certainly got a lot of resilience. And she might also go on lecture tours and speak at women's leadership and wellness events, which would be very interesting. But the press have not been very kind to her. They call her greedy, grabby and grubby, is what they've said. That's the verdict on them. And they say that she'll take everything, then bite your hand off just to get the rings as well. That's what they've said. But the suggestion is this sort of uncertain future, she may go to Portugal to relocate where Eugenie lives at the moment, who's 35. She's got her husband down there, Jack Brooksbank, and they're said to have prepared a grand suite in their oceanfront villa at Costa Terra Gold and Ocean Club for Fergie, so she could well settle down and get away from this reputational quicksand.
Okay, look, let's talk about Queen Elizabeth's treasured corgis. There are reports that King Charles is gearing up to reclaim Queen Elizabeth's corgis from Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Sarah Ferguson amid claims that the disgraced Yorks can no longer provide a safe home for the pooches. We know how much the Queen loved her corgis. So what can you tell us about the King now reportedly planning on taking them from Andrew Mountbatten Windsor?
And we spoke about this last time as well, Muick and Sandy. And there was even a little book which has been published by a fellow company in the News Corps Corporation as well. Where's Muick? The last of the Queen's corgis. And it was Princess Beatrice, 37, and Princess Eugenie, 35, who bought the two pups for the Queen, basically to distract her, provide some comfort when she lost Prince Philip. Philip in 2021. What happened is when Andrew was booted out of Royal Lodge, they sort of turned around and said, well, what's going to happen to Muick and Sandy? And there was a statement on basically on October the 31st, basically saying from Buckingham Palace saying that they will remain with the family. Well, remain with the family doesn't necessarily mean Sarah and Andrew, as I pointed out at the time. They didn't clarify which family members. So there's a bit of a concern. They want to keep these wonderful poochies, these pampered poochies, within the realms of Windsor Castle so they can enjoy the walks. And also they have a magnificent diet, one which we would all love. Apparently what they get, and this was revealed as well fairly recently, and I spoke about this last time, they have a daily poached beef, chicken or rabbit, which is finely diced, of course, and it's rotated monthly, and it's served with rice and cabbage for digestion. They eat superbly, but watch this space as to what's going to happen to those pampered pooches next.
Very pampered indeed. Now, Andrew, this is the moment you've been waiting for, our favourite Meghan Markle, and would you believe it, she's been slammed. She's been labelled as disconnected. Now, this is in relation to her latest venture in Hollywood. Of course, Meghan is due to release a Christmas special for her Netflix series on December 3, and we know, Andrew, that you are going to be doing that research for us. You'll be watching all of it.
Sacrifices I make for you.
Thank you. Look, what can we expect?
Well, we can expect more Montecito madness from Meghan Markle. That's what we can expect.
Yes, I think you're right.
Me, Meghan. It's got to be good. What's going to happen? We've got this Netflix fest with love, as you know. She also has this ferocious flack with the media. Everything that she does, they basically lambast the whole thing. December the 3rd is what we can expect. This Christmas special will be dropping, so but we'll be glued to that. But it can't mask this chasm. That's what it is between hype and Hollywood's harsh verdict. People just say she's so disconnected with pots of jam costing an absolute fortune. And it's not even jam, it's scam jam, because it doesn't have the right sort of balance. That's what they call it. And the candles, which cost an absolute fortune. You have to sell your left leg to get it. So all of that sort of nightmare. And of course, let's not forget those edible flowers. Everything's got those edible flowers.
Oh, how could we forget?
You can find those very carefully everywhere she goes, but she couldn't find a poppy for Remembrance Day. That was the scandal last week, but edible flowers are there. That's what they're saying. Look, there's a total disconnect from people who basically have their daily lives, and even chopping up fruit in wonderful shapes and sizes for the children. As beautiful as it looked, what hardworking mother or father has got time to do that? This is what they're saying. She is basically Confessions of a Female Founder, or rather a female flounder. You can work on that basis. But this is what's happening, that disconnect. She needs to build that bridge.
Me, Meghan. I mean, that is a new name, and that is one that I think suits her indeed. Look, finally, King Charles is celebrating a birthday. He made a visit to wet and windy South Wales for his 77th birthday, Andrew. What more can you tell us about the trip?
Well, I can tell you there's a storm over Andrew, but he didn't avoid the storms. It was wet and windy Wales for his 77th birthday. He was presented with a wonderful cake in the shape of a castle, and we saw a picture of him in a sort of beige outfit with a shepherd's crook and things like that. He's been wonderful. Long to reign over us. I say it's stormy weather all round, very Hardy-esque, the weather, but he's weathered that storm incredibly well in spite of his cancer scares. It's just come on the back, I told you, of his 50th anniversary of his membership of the Magic Circle. We have 1,700 members around the world. He had to do an exam. He did the famous cups and balls in front of examiners, and he passed with flying colours 50 years ago. So he celebrated that as well. Proud member of the Magic Circle, as indeed am I. But his 77th birthday, well done. It was great to see him. The crowds came out in force, and he spoke to a number of people. He spoke to a TikTok influencer. I bet he knew what that was. And he spoke to Ruth Jones of Gavin and Stacey fame, and also other people as well. He's connecting. He's the connected king, is what he wants to do. But 77, and it makes him actually, he's the 5th oldest monarch to live to that sort of age. Obviously, the Queen was, I think she was about 90 odd when she did that. And basically, he's up there, 77 years of age, and long may he reign over us.
Andrew Eborn, barrister, broadcaster, president of Octopus TV, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed with all the royal news.
It's always a delight. And don't forget, Princess Catherine will be back with us next week.
That is Power Hour. Thank you for your company. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to Sky News Australia on YouTube.